Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second episode of the new podcast, Land with Me. I am your host for this podcast, Rodney Weir, and we have a guest today. We have with us Chloe Catallo to talk about.
Hi.
Hi, Chloe. To talk about a project that she's been involved in during her time here at Western Michigan University. So Chloe is a third year student in the physical therapy department here at Western Michigan. She was involved in a philanthropy project through Western and through Steve Leopard. Steve Leopard is with the Solstice Scholarship. So we're going to talk some about that, some of the things, the ideas behind it, how the event itself actually works. So she ran an event here locally in Kalamazoo with rock climbing, and also just some of what came out of it and some of the things that she's looking to do. So, welcome, Chloe. It's
Thank you so much.
wonderful that you're here, and thank you for being a part of this.
Absolutely.
So, just to start off, if you can just tell us a little bit about more about the Solstice Scholarship, some of what went into it, and some of the ideas that you had as you look to create the ideas and apply or actually create your project and your plan. If you can just share some of what went into that.
Absolutely. This hadn't necessarily been something on my radar until Steve and the Solstice team came into class at the end one day and kind of gave us their pitch and explained why they created the scholarship. And I was just completely moved by their story and their dedication to improving the lives of others. And I think as a student of physical therapy, that was really nice to see other people in the profession already that still were carrying through that mission. And so it was pretty quickly after the talk that they came in and gave that I was kind of starting to turn the wheels of my brain a little bit. I have always been a really big advocate for individuals that are suffering with substance abuse. It's something that has unfortunately touched my family and did from a very young age. And I feel like that was something that kind of affected my upbringing and kind of gave me a different perspective growing up. And so I've always wanted to do work in helping with individuals that are struggling with those things. So I kind of used that as my pivot point and tried to decide a fun event, something unique, and maybe something that the Solstice Scholarship hadn't seen before. And by the time I had gotten into my car and drove the 5 minutes to my apartment, I had called Climb Kalamazoo, which is a local climbing gym, rock climbing gym in downtown Kalamazoo. And I wanted to something you should know about me is once I have an idea in my head, I can just run with it forever. And so I wanted to kind of, before I got too excited and too far down into the rabbit hole, I wanted to see if Climb Kalamazoo would even be interested or be able to accommodate an event like this that I had in my brain. And they immediately said yes and were so wonderful. And so from that moment on, I submitted my idea and my proposal for an event to do at Climb Kalamazoo. And luckily, they also really enjoyed the idea and thought it was unique and thought it fit really well with the solstice mantra of lifting others up. And I felt like this would be a perfect embodiment of that as well. So that was kind of the first jumping off point. And then I did a lot of research within the area, within kind of all of Kalamazoo to see an organization or a cause that I would be able to support. And the community healing centers came up a lot with a lot of their advocacy work and all the things that they do. And reading through their like statements from their members and their staff, I was immediately sold that this was a cause that I wanted to support. And yeah, the rest was kind of history.
Well, that's awesome. And thank you for sharing that background.
Yeah.
And we will have hopefully Steve Leopard on for a later episode. But just to give a little bit of background, Steve has a organization that will give money for different projects. So he gives some money and then funds some project for a community based outreach, something that's going to have an impact. So Chloe wrote up a plan and proposal for what she wanted to do. So we'll have Steve to come in and talk about the background of that organization, kind of how it works. But it's incredible. It's incredible to see just the impact, what it does within the community, and just to encourage people to get involved, to really take their ideas to the next step, right? It sounds like that's what you're describing, Chloe, is just having the idea and really being able to run with it, right?
Oh, absolutely. And they're so wonderful. Everyone that works through the Solstice Scholarship, they let you create and brainstorm and they help when needed, but they just cheer you on every step of the way. And it was so fulfilling and honestly one of the most meaningful experience that I've had, definitely in PT school, but it's definitely up there with, my 25 years of life. To be able to have such a supportive backing for something that I was so passionate about, they are wonderfully supportive in that.
And there's so much that goes into it. If you could just talk some about that, just having the idea, starting to get a plan together, but then just everything that goes into planning that day, all the details, the marketing that goes into it, just getting people to come. If you can just talk some about what it was like, just preparing and planning for the event itself, because there's a lot that goes into it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Planning and organization is my bread and butter. So I really enjoyed this experience. By the end, people were like, "Are you going to be so happy it's over?" And I'm like, "No, are you kidding? I want to do this all the time." It definitely required a lot of marketing, kind of to your point. Steve has a really big social media presence and posts a lot on the different solstice pages and really tries to get engagement with different things that are going on. So that was a huge benefit to attendance for this event. I also made flyers and passed them out to anyone that would take one, downtown Kalamazoo and to different businesses, and things like that. So that was big. And then I knew that I wanted to do a raffle and just try to get as much support from the community as I could. So some may see this as a little bit overkill, but I felt like it was important. So I found a list of all of the businesses in downtown Kalamazoo and kind of the surrounding area, and I emailed everyone. And I was so surprised and just absolutely blown away by how many businesses were so willing to make donations and to put up flyers and to spread, the message of this event. I wouldn't have been able to do it without all of their support. I had everything from meals and candles and comedy show tickets and the art museum tickets, and just I was completely blown away. So that was a big part of it that I was so thankful to have that support in. And then I also knew that I wanted to do an equipment collection. So, with climbing, if anyone is unfamiliar, you need like a specific kind of shoe. It has a little bit more of a pointy toe, which is helpful when you're climbing. So, I knew I wanted to get as many shoes as people would be willing to donate, and chalk bags and chalk. So I emailed every climbing gym in the state of Michigan and I again was just my faith in humanity was just completely restored throughout this process. There were so many climbing gyms throughout the state that mailed me boxes and boxes of shoes and chalk bags, and it was unbelievable. Never in my wildest dreams did I anticipate having so much support, and so that was huge. And I was able to give all of those shoes and chalk bags to community healing centers for someone to climb for free, essentially, without having to, eat the cost of the equipment, because climbing is a little bit of an expensive hobby.
That's
So
amazing. Yeah. Just everything that goes into it, right? So, having an idea and wanting to do it, but yeah, just think about all the details. That's incredible. Just all the donations you got.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. It was a labor of love, but in the very best way. When I initially told Climb Kalamazoo that I was thinking about putting on this event, they asked how many people I was anticipating. And honestly, I told them 15 because I wasn't quite sure what marketing would do and things like that. And I believe our final count was around 55 people. So
Wow.
it definitely shows the power of community and the power of getting the word out and doing something meaningful and impactful that people want to show up for. So that was great.
And it's, just adding a fun element, just to engage people. People that came certainly learned something. And I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I was not one of the people that climbed. So there were some that came and climbed. I was not one of them. I'll justify that by saying that I took pictures, right? So I was one of the picture takers. So I'll just say that.
We needed someone to take the pictures.
But there were a lot of people that did climb, just, it's about pushing borders, doing something you're not always comfortable with, right? And that was the amazing thing because there were a lot of people, if I remember right, that had never done it before.
Yeah, I would say probably out of the mix, five people, maybe six people had done it before. And other than that, it was a completely new experience for everyone. So I was excited to see everyone kind of breaking down boundaries and fears. I myself have a huge fear of heights, so it's always a treat to challenge myself in that way when I go climbing. So it was fun to see everyone else kind of encouraging each other and supporting each other on the way up and down the walls.
No, it was a great event. A lot of people came and people, it was very positive. A lot of, people got a lot of wonderful things that came out of it. Just in terms of the event running, having a successful event, as we've been talking about all the things that go into it, all the preparation and then the details of the day itself. Just thinking about some of the things that came out of it, just some of the results, just what were some of the big wins that you saw that you've seen since the event itself?
Yeah, I would say biggest wins for me was just seeing how meaningful it was for the representatives from community healing centers. I think that was my favorite part of the day, to be able to present them with the money we had raised in donations. Was a little over $1,000.
Okay.
Um, and that was like my favorite part of the day, being able to just express to them how meaningful the services that they provide are, and being able to show them through a monetary donation like that was fantastic. And I think just bringing awareness and kind of breaking a stigma a little bit, and having people realize that they can do things and kind of reach past boundaries that they maybe never thought they could. I was seeing a lot of like nervous smiles towards the beginning or like apprehensive looks towards the beginning of the event. And by the end, everyone was, arms around each other and high-fiving. And it was just fun to kind of look around and see. Steve really encouraged me to take that part in during the event instead of trying to run around and make sure everything was running smoothly. He really encouraged me to take a moment and just kind of let it sink in. And the manager at Climb Kalamazoo told me that I should climb up to the top of one of the walls and just sit in the harness and just kind of watch everyone. So I did that about halfway through the event, and it was so much fun to see everyone kind of trying something new, and it was just a big sense of community. It was like a warm hug. It was really awesome to see.
That's awesome. And that's really great advice from Steve, right? You work so hard. There's so many details even that day to manage and keep track of. You're worried about all kinds of things and, just getting people in the right place, getting people in, getting people, because there was some training that needed to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, just a lot of things to manage. So, just taking a moment to appreciate it, just to see everything from that overhead view. That's just awesome. Um, and just thinking about some of the things, we talked a little bit about some of what you're planning too, just looking at the success of the event, some of the things that came out of it, and some of the things that you would like to do going forward. If you can just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I knew that for me going through with this event and everything, I knew I didn't want this to be like a one and done situation for me. I think my parents have really instilled in me about like always leaving places better than where you found them. And to me, that is just the service aspect is just an extension of that. And amidst the equipment collections that I was doing in the early planning stages of this previous event, a few of the climbing gyms on the east side of the state had made these wonderful equipment donations, and then had also expressed interest in me hosting a similar event at their climbing spaces.
Oh,
So
that's
I would
awesome.
love to,
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to just continue to kind of take this on the road, for lack of a better way to put it, and continue to just branch out and make a difference in little communities across the state.
Well, that's awesome. And one of the things, we'll talk about on the podcast is just, just encouraging people to reach out and try some of these things that they may not necessarily be comfortable doing. But just planting the seed that it's possible. And that's some of the magic of the Solstice Scholarship and Steve and what he's set up is, just encouraging people to take some of those chances and think of things in a different way and things they may have not necessarily thought of before, right?
Oh, absolutely. I say jokingly all the time, who knew that who I was when I started this DPT program? I never spoke to anyone and I kind of stayed to myself. I like to be more in the background. Um, who knew that I would have been able to put on something like this? And I really think it's the magic of the Solstice Scholarship. They really encourage you and show you that anything's possible. If you have an idea and run with it, you can change the world. And I think it's a very important message that they put out.
That's amazing. And now you're on a podcast for the second time, right? Being able to talk about it and all the things that went into it and just what you were able to accomplish. So
Yeah.
that's very cool. All right. Any final thoughts for our listeners out there?
I would just say if you have a passion for something or you want to advocate for someone or a group of people, don't doubt yourself. And if you have an idea, you can make a really, really big difference in the world, whether you change one person's life, 10 people's lives, 100 people's lives. It's going to be meaningful and you should go for it.
All right. That's a wonderful message. Thank you so much, Chloe. Thank
Thank
you for your time.
you.
Thank you for talking about your project and um, just sharing the message. Just to get involved and do the things that you can to have an impact on others. So thank you.
Thank you.
So that's it for now. We will be having another episode coming out soon. And thank you everyone for listening.